You're dialed in to the Dealer Playbook podcast, where it's all about winning auto dealer strategies that deliver proven results. And now your hosts, Robert Weissman and Michael Cirillo.
Hello and welcome to the Dealer Playbook. I am Robert Weissman and I am, well, first off, flying solo today. My tag team partner, Michael Cirillo, was unable to make it to this session, so you just have me today with my guest, of course. But anyways, this is the Dealer Playbook. Thanks for the download. I am so glad you are here, and this is the podcast that we unlock and unleash real dealer strategies that are going to get real results. And this is session 20. Thank you so much for your support since day one. If you know anybody that has been here since day one, thank you so much. If you're just getting here, I recommend going back and checking out some of the previous sessions. Get all those at thedealerplaybook.com. Make sure you subscribe so they'll get hand delivered to your inbox every week, so you don't miss a beat. So today, let's jump into it. Today, I am sitting down with someone that was very influential in me when I first got into the auto industry, and definitely helped curve my mindset to building the business and doing things in a unique fashion compared to most people in the auto industry. Today, my guest is Tom Vann. Tom Vann is the founder, creator, and owner of VSM Technologies. It's a training company for automotive dealers. And also, he is actually a dealer himself. He's been in the business for many years. And in a town of only 9,000 people in Michigan, he was able to sell over $173 million worth of metal. So Tom is going to talk a lot today about building your database, the importance of your database, and ways to get everybody involved in the dealership, your sales staff, into building a database, which does, wonders for your cost per transaction and so much more. So we're going to dive right into this with Tom. Again, it's Tom Vann. Check out his amazing content at tomvann.com, but we're going to jump right into this with Tom Vann. Check it out. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I am joined with, like I said, somebody who was very influential to me and to so many of you, because I don't know how many people that have now become connected with me or, part of my little community that told me they heard about me from Tom Vann. Tom, thanks for taking the time out of your, banana schedule to join me, man.
You got it, buddy.
I really, really appreciate it. All right. So listen, guys, like I said in the, pre-interview that, this guy here, Tom, he's the real deal. A lot of you, he has a training company that's the VSM Technology. It's a amazing program. But also he's a dealer, just like one of you guys, in the Michigan area. And the guys, you're talking 173 million, like I said, in retail out of a town of 9,000. That's so strong. But also, Tom, since you do some traveling and you do some in-dealership consulting, and you're there from such a great angle because you're running a successful dealership of your own, so it gives you, super razor sharp insight. What are some reoccurring barriers, problems, issues that you see that are more unique than the problems that we all know and we all talk about?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. And interesting. It seems to be there's like one commonality that seems to be, I think, growing quite a bit, and that is it actually comes from something I call the sales pressure crisis. And what happens is this. Is that salespeople, in order to be great, I think, really have to focus on two things: selling methodology, and they have to focus on building their own database, right? I mean, you're like the world's expert at that, right?
Thank you.
Hey, man. Yeah. Well, and I see what happens at a lot of dealerships is they're not allowing salespeople to have the autonomy to really focus on building that database side of that. Let alone, I think there's a lot of methodologies that are a bit screwed up or not being followed through with and such, but it's really allowing salespeople to follow through on database building, client building strategies that work for them. And so, and that being said, what that really comes from, I think, is this lack of culture that exists inside dealerships of coaching and support as opposed to management styles. Because when the sales pressure crisis starts to peak up, then what happens, what I've seen, I see it all the time, is that managers have this tendency to start tightening up and over-managing deals. They overmanage salespeople and how they operate through their day. They overmanage phone calls and such. And then ultimately, you don't allow salespeople to be great salespeople, and the pressure starts to collapse dealerships.
Okay, so when you're saying that they're holding them back and not coaching, okay, so is coaching and training aren't the same thing, correct?
Yeah, that's right. They're not.
Okay.
They combine with one another, but they're not exactly the same thing, no.
Well, what direction should they be looking to coach these guys? I mean, you bring people in and you want for the salesperson to focus on their database. Where is, talk a little bit more about that. What is that going to benefit the management and the team, and what do they do from there?
Yeah, fair enough. And that's a good way to ask the question, too, is that what happens often here is that salespeople kind of get clumped into like they're just bodies, they're heads. Like you got so many salespeople that'll sell you so many vehicles, you have to have so many on the floor, and so on and so forth. And a lot of those mathematics don't work out as well as they used to way back in the day. And of course, I'm back from the day, too. But what happens, and what we really know about the individual salesperson, is they each have their own skill sets. Sometimes that skill set's in voice. Sometimes it's in analytical management. Sometimes it's in product knowledge, things like that. And everyone's got a little skill and all, or talent and all. But each person has their own really core talents that allow them to connect with other people. Now, I'm hoping from a dealership's perspective, we're all pretty darn good at hiring people. If not, then that's a whole nother thing to look at here, But let's assume that we understand that salespeople come to us with certain talents, and that talents is connecting with those talents have to do with connecting with other people. Well, the problem that most, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of managers have, is allowing those individuals to use the best talents they have to connect with people outside of their dealership. There's a lot of waiting going on for salespeople to come in, but for clients to come in. But salespeople have the talent, and they should have the expectation of building their own database. And the way that they can do that is to be able to be supported in what they can do best in order to reach out and find the correct database for them. And that can be through, a lot of things that you use too, things like YouTube and Facebook, a lot of social network, but also a lot of grassroots stuff that still works today. And I work with a lot of people, and we work with a lot of strategies on how to make individual contact, and then how to make individual contact spiderweb out into dozens, ultimately hundreds, and then ultimately thousands of database contacts.
So what are ways that if the manager's listening, or a dealer that's into this, what are ways that they can start to put this in action? How can they empower the people?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, to take on a coaching culture inside of an organization, that really takes a different mindset, because coaches need to be experts at understanding the psyche of their people and understanding the motivations of their people. Oftentimes when managers get involved with discussions or meetings with their people, it's usually like a gigantic data dump or information dump. For instance, a meeting pops up, the staff is in there, a staff of 15, 20 people, or sometimes just 5 or 6 people, whatever it is. And the manager starts laying out all these things that he or she wants to be understood on. Like, well, we've only sold this many vehicles, so everyone has to make this many more phone calls, and you got to stop being on your cell phones. And it's kind of a big hammer session on what everybody needs to do because there's pressure being applied to the manager to produce more sales. When in fact, that's actually contradictory to what works well, because inside a coaching atmosphere takes people one-on-one and in groups and allows people to, and in fact, it encourages and demands people to share their opinions about what they would be strong about and how they would believe they could best connect to more people. So there's still accountability in coaching cultures, because the accountability says, okay, Mr. Salesperson, I'm going to make you accountable for reaching or for building a database of this many people, maybe per week or per month or whatever it is. So let's say it's me and you, Robert, and you're the manager, and you come to me and you say, or you're the coach manager, and you come to me and you say, Tom, this is what I need from you. I need you to add another 500 people to your database this particular month. And without you telling me exactly what to do, your best move is to say, okay, Tom, so what are your strengths in being able to do this? Where do you go? Who are you going to connect with? How are you going to connect with them? If you don't know how, let's talk about a few ways and let's find what way is going to be best for you, because you do need to reach that 500 increase in database this month. Do you understand? Of course, I'd say, yeah, I understand, but geez, I'm a little uncomfortable with that, Robert. I'm not sure where to go. And you'd say, well, let's take a look at a couple of things I've done in the past, I've seen in the past, and let's see what works best for you, and then you can decide what works best for you. You see, in those type of meetings, whether they're group meetings or individual meetings, what you're allowing me, in fact, what you're really encouraging me and demanding of me, is that I arrive at the best solutions that are going to work for me, and you never let me off the hook, because I still need to build that database, and of course I still need to use a certain selling methodology that's going to allow me to be most effective with that database. You see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing gathering the database, and it's a whole other on what you're going to do with it. How do you nurture it? How do you keep it thriving? But well, I like that. So they're setting goals for not so much as X amount of phone calls, X amount of appointments. Do you still have your sales goals, of course, I would assume, but then you go Certainly. In and you have your contribution to how many people, you're bringing in and putting into the database. And I think, that's a great way to lower your cost per lead transaction without a doubt. But it's important on when you get in there, you put these people in. You're not sending them what kind of content or what kind of emails. How are you communicating with this database? Are you building a database of full names? Are you getting what you can get, or how do you recommend what to collect? What information do you need from someone to really put them in a database?
I think that's fair. Well, I think you get what you need, but of course the ultimate thing is if you get it all. You get first name, last name, phone number, email address, text number if that's separate, hard mail number, and well, not just necessarily Facebook, but also social connection strategies, which includes YouTube. If you can pull all those, now you got the ultimate database. But there is an understanding when you're building database that you want to make certain that if you're a salesperson, you're connecting with a new potential client or a new contact, I like to call them, that will lead you to primary contacts, is that every time you make this connection, you want to know from that person how they want to be contacted, because that's simply the most important thing. If the client says, oh yeah, contact me this way, I love Facebook chat, or I love chat me, or I love email, whatever it is, then that's the way you're going to contact those people consistently. But you always want at least two forms of contact. Otherwise, you'll start losing people in that database
and get their preferred method as well.
Preferred method is necessary.
Okay.
You bet.
So, you figure out somebody's their way to build their database that works for them. As a matter of fact, give an example of a way that a salesperson could build a database. Let's just say this is what worked for them. Give me something that unique Sure. that you developed with somebody based off of them.
You betcha. Okay. Well, now there are multiple ways to connect with people, but I'll give you a couple of simple ways that that have been very effective for a few people. Well, first off, you need to find out each individual salesperson needs to find out who their primary database would be, and that'd be those people they connect with best. For instance, if say you're out in the country, for instance, and you're surrounded by an enormous amount of farmers and such, is that you may want to build a strong connection with the farmer, but only if you really understand the life that they live and you understand how to connect with those particular people. If you're a kid that grew up in the city, you never understand about farms, then you don't go out and start talking to dairy farmers about how you can help them build their businesses and such, and what type of impact you can make on them, because you'll look like a dum-dum, right? Okay. So one of those things is that let's say we're sitting down with a sales representative, and with the sales representative, I will say, whether at another dealership or my own, I'll say, all right, so who is it you connect with best? Where are your best? What's your interest? And what do you think will be those type of people you connect with best? So for instance, there is a super strong, now she's a super strong gal. Her name is Kately, and she's at a different dealership. And anyway, she didn't know who to contact, but she's a younger gal, but she feels like she connects with older people well. So I said, well, here's your first moment, is that what is it that you like the best? What do you like the most? And she says, well, I love studying things, and I love outdoor activities. I love rock climbing, and I love outdoor biking and such. And I said, well, okay, so who's in your area? And she said, well, there's a large place that's called Patagonia. Not everyone knows Patagonia. It's kind of like a North Face type of group. Anyway, so I said, well, then you ought to connect with the Patagonia folks. And what you're looking to do is you're looking to connect with them at a face-to-face level where you could say, look, what can I do to help build your business? And I said, I want you to go in there and talk to them about how you can help build their business and what they do. So she goes to Patagonia. She sets an appointment with an HR person, and then she ultimately gets to a vice president. I won't go through all the bits and pieces of this, but she goes in and makes contact with these people, and they say, geez, we would love to have some level of contact between you, what it is you sell, what you offer up, and us. And she said, well, that's really not what I'm looking for necessarily. She says, what I'm looking to do is connect you with, because I love your company, I wear all of your stuff, I buy your stuff actually down at 2 major store outlets from where I live. She says, I'd like to be able to introduce my database of clients to you, because I have roughly about 11,000 people that I've connected with over time, and I constantly connect with them. And I want to introduce Patagonia and a lot of the things that you do for the community and for earth health, and a lot of things that Patagonia believes in, by the way. And so now they're blown away by her, and they said, geez, well, we would love to offer up stuff to you, and so let's do this. And so they start going through a bunch of the things that they do charitable events with, and a lot of those are running races and off-site races and mountain bike racing and things like that. And she said, boy, and they said to her, well, geez, we're going to hook you up with a couple people in our division, and we'll introduce you to each one of those things. And if you'd like, we could help you sponsor water tents and things like that. She said, I'd love to do that. So where it went to is that so she makes this connection with Patagonia. She immediately hooks up in 3 major events, and these three major events accounted for somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30,000 people. So in this 30,000 people, she then starts doing a contact list on how she can better support their causes. And in so doing, they share database. So her database grew from what was just over 11,000 to roughly about 19,000 people in a matter of about, it turned out to be about 5 weeks total. And so now she's got all of these folks in her personal database that she contacts with in all the ways that they want, that they see best. And she likes to float those down into 3 things: into an online newsletter, which she sends out once a month, and it's not typical. We worked on this type of newsletter quite a bit so that she knew what would impact these folks in the best possible way. And by the way, I know when I start talking about this stuff, people are going, wait, what about cars? Well, the fact is that the ultimate connection that people have with this girl and she sells Kias, by the way. So she calls herself Kaylee, the Kia girl, and then she's made a couple of switches on that, by the way, since we started doing that. But anyway, so so as we build this, now everybody knows her as Kaylee the Kia girl, but she's really Kaylee. And so the connection people have is this wonderful, very powerful, very giving girl that wants to be involved in this culture out there that is the outdoor culture, you see? So in a matter of 5 weeks, just with one connection to one person that led to two, that's now led to increasing her database by roughly about 7,000 or 8,000 people, she now continues to move her head because she's gone from where she was a gal selling roughly about 12 to 16 Kias a month. She's now up to about 20 to 23 in that short period of time, because now that's been about, 2.5 months.
Yeah, and she's not waiting on any fresh opportunities or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, because she doesn't want to. Why? Because her penetration ratio is float. You know how it is.
If I can only, I started to see the business and looked at it when I was in retail, and I was at one point I looked at it and I was like, it's only possible to deliver as an individual X amount of cars a day. You know, so I'm gonna spend it with people that I like being around, that are enjoyable, that I might have seen before, or they already trust me coming in the door and feel good about me. You know, it's twice the work for usually half the money dealing with just working with walk-ins. You know that. Yeah. And the database stuff I like so much because, especially when you put your team out there, I don't think that dealers really, I don't know if they just, over the years, they just, some of these dealers have been in the business for so long that they just don't have faith in their salespeople like that to take that approach. But it's, it's not necessarily that every single person on there is going to buy a car from you today, tomorrow, the next day, or, it starts paying off directly. But in the long run, you cannot go wrong if you've got 19,000 is bananas, but even half that, or 4,000, 5,000 even's a good start. I mean, it keeps giving to you. You can pump it almost and get results.
Man, I agree with you, and I got to tell you, what I've seen out in a lot of dealerships is that a lot of dealers, who grew up selling, man, a lot of dealers are just incredible salespeople themselves, kind of old horse traders and such. But a lot of that's been lost. I think that. And I'm not going to say we overanalyze things, but we've become such a management group of data that we've forgotten a lot of the magic that really happens, the magic between individuals. And once you stifle that in your selling staff, even though they have the talents to begin with, once you stifle that and you say, man, this is all about, how many people you can connect with versus this, how many Facebook ads you do, and not that stuff isn't important, and not that it's powerful, but when you give an individual an opportunity to build their own following based upon just personality connections in friendship building and such, my goodness. Not only, by the way, as you mentioned, not only do your cost per sale goes down to nothing, because like my cost per sale in my dealership is $137.
Wow.
In most all dealerships, they're running somewhere between like $475 up to $625. Some even more, I hear, which is crazy. But they've stopped even looking at referrals, because referrals is all part of what you and I are even talking about here, right? This culture of database building, this culture of coaching ultimately bleeds in database management building. This bleeds into massive, massive referrals. And referrals cost nothing. Cost you nothing. And just your time and your attention. So look at us.
Easier, and they're usually easier to convert for more and pay you more money in most cases.
Completely. Overall, everybody, and I think most dealerships understand this too, is that the type of dollar figures you make off referrals versus cold leads and such is just massive. We usually find it somewhere in the neighborhood of about 85% greater. But we work with so many referrals now, kind of we've lost the ability to manage not really, but we've kind of lost this desire for how many brand new clients can we bring in through a new ad. It just doesn't happen anymore because our culture is all about building referrals off building our own database.
Yeah. And it all just comes down to building relationships.
Yes, it does, my friend.
So another thing, quick, because I know we're running on time here. Whatever your way. So for the example in Kate Lee, the Kia girls scenario, she did some list sharing, some database sharing, and was basically imported, for the tech end of it, probably imported a list into her list or something like that. What about like pounding the pavement? How do you ask somebody? Do you ask somebody? What scenario would you like just ask somebody to get them into your database? And what do you what are you selling them on? What is the benefit to them to get into these databases?
Well, specifically, it's an interesting way that you ask it, and cut me off if I start getting just a little winded here. I'll try not to. But when you're pounding the pavement, and that means when you're doing things like, I do a lot of work with Chamber of Commerces wherever I go, because chambers are incredible sources of information and connectivity to others. Anyway. So in connecting, let's say, to a chamber, people that work in the chamber, then ultimately people that are members of chambers and such, is that when you go to people, your first step in is not about selling cars. Your first step needs to be how it is you are going to help them with their business. Now, the best way to do that is you tell people, I want to introduce you to my database. And even if an individual says, I want to introduce you to my database because I talk to a lot of folks, and let's say somebody's database is only about 300 people, and I work with a lot of people out there that they're starting with a database of 100, sometimes 80 people, sometimes 150 people, sometimes 300 people, and that's okay. You got to start with something. If you've never been in the business, you're going to start with about 10, And so the advantage that we give the brand new person into our database is, I want to introduce you to a lot of my people and what you do. I want to introduce people to your cause, to your business, to your organization, to your church, that type of thing. And people go, boy, that'd be fantastic. And it's so simple, because people, when they see that you're not selfishly motivated, that this isn't all about you selling cars to people, then people say, gosh, I want to contact with you. They say, Robert, man, well, of course I do. I'd love that. And then Robert will say, absolutely. I don't need to promote myself as Robert Wiseman, the car guy. I just need to say, look, I'm Robert Wiseman, and I'm about you. I want to help you and build your business because you're important to this community. And that connection that you have with people ultimately gets people to ask, well, what is it that you do? And Robert says, well, I'm in car sales. I sell cars for a living, but really what I love doing more than anything is I love building this community, and I love making connections with people that are important to this community, like you are. And when that message is sincere, and it better be sincere, we're not actors here, is that if we turn out to be, and by the way, this is critical to coaching, is that you don't coach people on how to be actors. You coach people on how to find their sincerity and how to find their soul. Because when they do that, they connect with people in the right way. And when they connect with people in the right way, then people, they become believers in humanity again. And that's what we become. The great salespeople out there are people that show that they're really about humanity. This isn't a trick we're pulling off here. It's really true human stuff we pull off. And when we can build that trust, then people will trust to buy their products and services from us.
Yeah, it's pretty impossible to fake it. You can only fake it for so long.
Man, well put.
Yeah, I guess. Tom, listen. So that's a lot in there. That's great. It just puts your team to work. It's like, imagine if you have a showroom full of people that are doing that. It can only lead to good things, and it really doesn't cost it's not like buying a full newspaper ad or radio slot. It's not even going to cost you any kind of it'll cost some incidentals, I'm sure, but
yeah, incidentals. It'll cost you, a bag of donuts or some coffees or a pizza party or a barbecue.
See, in your training, I remember way back then, that was one that I saw and I was like, duh, and I went and did that. And then it's funny because it made me remember at the dealership when an insurance person came in like that with the donuts and stuff for and a bunch of cards. And I'm like, man, you know, I thought back at that and I'm like, look, so sales, it's working. Other salespeople are doing it in other industries, but not enough of it in this one.
Not enough at all. You got it.
So I'm going to give you, I didn't tell you, you know, I didn't discuss this with you before the call, but where I want to send some of these folks, if they're interested, to check out your programs and the VSM selling methodology, man. It's awesome. It did so much for me and it's so interesting. And there's so much, I mean, what do you have, like 27 free videos they can sign up for or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's actually grown. The promotion still says 27, but yeah, it actually takes even brand new salespeople through an understanding of really how to sell, the right methodology that works in the modern world of selling, not necessarily a bunch of old style stuff that's still taught some places out there. Then there's still some effectiveness in that, but this is about selling in the new world and what it means and its effective selling. Well, anyway. So and I've got roughly about 19,000, just over 19,000 followers worldwide. It's reached like 98 countries now or something like that. And that's free. And that's just, anyone can just go to tomvann.com and I got a link on there they can click and get the free video set.
I'll have the link to all that in the show notes here on the dealerplaybook.com, where anybody can access that link. Now, if I'm correct, like for management and dealers out there, you know, don't you kind of like, he has such a unique selling, you know, process that he implemented in his place, which we told you what he did over there, and I loved it, and I you know, I really believed in it, but I could never sell my dealer on it. So you pretty much reveal that and in detail in there, right?
Sure, man. Yeah, there's no embarrassment there. Is that a lot of dealers have a tough time sucking it down, and a lot of it is just because dealers have been used to doing one thing for so long, man. And I don't necessarily mean the dealer, by the way. A lot of times it's just managers in the middle. You know, is that they followed one way for so long and they just can't crack their way from it, and they keep trying to sell their salespeople on it. And man, there's a lot of salespeople that get pushed a lot of selling methodology that just doesn't work for them. And gosh, I see it. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of salespeople out there, a lot of wasted talent. And so yeah, man, you're right. It's right at first, it's tough for people to swallow it. And then some people go, my God, it's so commonsensical. And I go, I know.
That it is, definitely. And it's so easy. It costs nothing to just start to do that one day too.
Well, you're right, man. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it's a methodology that has to permeate an entire organization. It can't be, and I got some people out there where it's just a couple salespeople doing it on their own, and they're the superstars, and the management just shrugs their shoulders, and you know, but it isn't just about me, man. It's about individual salespeople out there that are looking for help, that can really turn dealerships into superstar dealerships, well beyond where they are, just as long as they get the support to do so.
Yeah, Tom, thank you so much. As you hear, because I'm not even going to edit that out, my doorbell's ringing because my son's friends next door, they're waiting for him to get here today. Guys, so that's at Tom Vann, that's VANN.com. Super easy to get there. The link will be in the show notes. Tom, thanks a million, man. I appreciate your time. You know, I've been, you know, involved in following what you've been doing and engaged with it for a long time, and it's got everybody check him out. But Tom, thank you so much for sitting down. And guys, why we didn't go over this selling methodology on this, I would have liked to, but when I talked with Tom pre-show, it's just a little too long. We wouldn't have been able to squeeze it into you and give you like the full, really sink in to you and really understand it in the amount of time and just with the audio. So go check out tomvann.com. Tom, I can't thank you enough, brother.
Robert, you got it, my friend, man. Keep it going, buddy. You are awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Boom. And right there you have it. My friend, an early mentor to me when I was in the car industry that I learned so much from, Tom Vann. I can't thank Tom enough for taking the time. This was on a Saturday when we record this. It's the beginning of August. This guy's live, in the dealerships every day, and also, helping dealers and salespeople around the country day in and day out. So the guy's got, he's dialed in for real. So make sure you go check out his stuff at tomvann.com. This is, if you're a manager or you're a higher up, or, you've got some pull in your dealership, you definitely want to check out the selling methodology that he promotes, that he implemented into his stores, and he saw amazing results, and it's what he teaches his dealers. He goes over it all and unleashes it onto you at tomvann.com. That's 2Ns.com. That'll be in the show notes, of course. Thank you so much for spending your time. Hopefully you still enjoyed it, even though it was just me. Michael was, of course, here in spirit. He will definitely be here for the next session of the Dealer Playbook. Head on over to thedealerplaybook.com. Anything and everything having to do with this session, you'll find there. Make sure you sign up. Don't miss a beat. This thing can come right to you. You don't have to worry about remembering to go check it out, or, forgetting it and having to go there and do a cram session and listen to a bunch of sessions in a row. We'll hand deliver it to you on a silver platter. Just sign up at thedealerplaybook.com. I'm Robert Wiseman. This is the Dealer Playbook, where we're giving real strategies to car dealers that deliver real results. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will see you next week.